Welcome to the Self-Publishing School podcast. This is the podcast to listen to if you're an aspiring writer or an author who wants to be more successful. On this show, you'll learn how to write and launch a book successfully, all from the top authors and people just like you who are doing it at the highest level. I'm your host, Chandler Bolt, the founder of Self-Publishing School, the author of the book called Published, and the CEO of selfpublishing.com. For free training on how to publish a book that sells 10,000 copies, go to selfpublishing.com/free training. Hey, Chandler Bolt here, and joining me today is C. Lee Smith. He's the CEO of SalesFuel, which is a sales intelligence firm that he founded back in 1989 and has been recognized as one of the top 10 sales enablement providers worldwide by Selling Power Magazine. He's an author of multiple books, including his books. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, you can see him behind him. He's got SalesCred and Hire Smarter, Sell More. All right. So in this interview, we're going to be talking about using books to grow your sales, to grow your business, and also some sales skills that you need as an author to sell more books. So this is gonna be a fun one. Buckle up. Lee, great to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to see you.
So let's maybe start here. Why books for you personally? Why did you decide to write your first book? Why have you decided to write multiple books? I mean, obviously you've got a very successful company. So why has books kind of been a part of that?
Well, I view myself really one of my most important roles in leading the company is to actually be the spokesperson for the company. So I'm the one that's always up there on stage. I'm participating in panels. I'm writing the articles and everything like that. And, it wasn't until the pandemic where I actually had time, at home. I wasn't in the office dealing with as much day to day because there really wasn't as much happening, that I finally had the time then to think about the book. And my mentor, Jeffrey Gitomer, who is best known for the Sales Bible, Little Red Book of Sales and everything like that, he's been after me for years. Lee, write a book. Whenever first word out of his mouth, whenever I see him, I'm like, book. It's like, and I really had a difficult time finding my voice as far as what kind of the world is littered with sales books. So it's like, what do I have to say that's different? And my background, of course, is in sales research, but then it was during the pandemic that I realized that, through my publisher, who oddly enough was writing a book on credibility in general, that what I've been doing for the past 31 years is actually providing research and background information to salespeople so that they would be perceived as more credible by their prospects and accounts. And that made it easier for them then to make recommendations and be taken seriously, so that they could actually be in a position then to sell more. So, from that, I thought about street cred. So sales cred is how that was born, because good salespeople have to have street cred, but of course they have to have sales cred now. And, I thought about it in terms of, thinking about it a little bit differently, because a lot of sales consultants always think it would talk about trust. And, some of them, when the book came out, would take shots at me and say, well, I've been talking about trust for years. And it's like, but the thing is that you need credibility to be able to earn trust. And without credibility, you cannot earn trust. So it is a pathway to trust. So I wrote about that. And I felt like that was something that I needed to say, that, of course, I had a lot of great experience in. And I've used myself as a salesperson as well as a sales manager. And so when I found my voice and found a topic that, that the world hadn't heard yet, that I was uniquely qualified to write about, then the next thing I had to do, Chandler, was learn how to write a book. So that's pretty much where you guys come in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, so talk to me about, I guess, the business side of this. It seems like this is kind of launched a sub brand and, some framing and terminology and all that. Obviously, if you were watching on the YouTube channel, you can see there's SalesFuel and then there's SalesCred. And so how has that book specifically helped grow your company? And also, are there any ways that you use it as kind of like practicing what you preach to bring credibility to what you do?
Oh, yeah. Really what it does is it gives you a platform. So it's like, that is something that you're known for. It's like, I'm the sales credibility expert. That's what I'm known for. You have people that are experts in email, some people that are experts in video meetings, some people experts in speaking and so forth, publishing, obviously, present company included. So That's what that does for you, and that gives you a basis then, so that when people are having panels and they want to talk about building trust as a salesperson, becoming a trusted advisor, and of course then speaking with credibility, so that people perceive you as knowing what you're talking about, then that I'm the name then that comes to mind, and I'm the one that gets invited then to speak to sales staffs. For example, it's like, I don't teach sales methodology because there's a bazillion sales methodologies out there. I teach sales credibility because without the credibility, it doesn't matter what methodology you're using, right? So that's what that does for me, is it gives me that platform, and it makes things, even for me, from an organizational standpoint, to organize all my thoughts, that my thoughts then go to fulfilling that platform. How I use it, obviously, then it makes it easier for me to get booked on great podcasts, but also then on radio shows, on panels and everything like that. Because if you are an author, then a published author, then even if you publish it yourself, nobody knows the difference anymore. Then that gives you great credibility. Writing in general gives you great credibility. Being published by somebody else gives you great credibility, but also having that book out there and being on Amazon and being an international Amazon bestseller, of course, brings that to you. So it opens up a lot of doors for you from a PR and marketing standpoint that perhaps weren't available to you before. And that's how I use it. But I also then use it then whenever I have a new client, I'll send them a copy of the book. I'll sign it. If I have a prospect that I'm trying to land or something like that, I'll hand sign and put their name on the book and send that to them and everything like that, just to show them that, hey, they're dealing with somebody then that's relevant.
And you feel like that using that book as part of the sales process, do you feel like that boosts conversion rates and sales and all that stuff?
It doesn't hurt, and it does help, but it's one of those things is like, it's hard to quantify and it's hard to measure, right? It's like, it's a nice warm feeling. And it certainly does build your credibility, but it's not enough just to have credibility, and then you have to actually use that's the foundation pretty much of a great business relationship. So it's like, it's what you do after that and how you use that credibility, making sure you also don't diminish that credibility over time. That's when you really start getting the payoff. But the book by itself basically is just sort of like your ticket then to be able to play, participate, compete.
Yeah, for sure. You alluded to something earlier that I think will be really helpful for people. You talked about how, you're an expert in this field and have been for a long time, and you've been in this business, you've scaled this company, all this, and you knew that you needed to write a book, but it was just figuring out, hey, what's this corner of sales that I'm going to own, and how do I niche down in a way where I feel like, hey, I can really find my voice and write on a specific topic. Being on the other side of that, what would your recommendation be to other people who maybe feel like they're in a similar boat? Maybe they're a few years or a decade in with their industry, and they kind of know that they want to write a book or need to write a book. Any thoughts or advice on how, from your experience, to narrow in on that part of what you do and figure out how to a niche topic to write about?
It's like, I made the mistake of going on Amazon then and taking a look at all the other books that were in the genre. And it was a little disheartening, really. And I don't know necessarily that was the right thing to do, but it's like, it helped me find out then, what had already been written about, what had been written about well. So quite frankly, being a reader of books that are in the area of expertise that you possess certainly helps, because if nothing else, it gives you ideas about what's already been done and has it been done well. So if it's already been done, but you don't feel like it's been done well, then by all means, that gives you carte blanche to go out then and do it better, of course. But the other thing, I'm not sure exactly that was the best idea in retrospect, because really what I had to do was take a look at what was my expertise. What were the great stories that I had developed over time, from my experience, and that I could relay in a book, and not just in a book, but it's all the follow-up content that follows it. There's a lot of content that didn't make the book that, ends up in what I call a parking lot, or it's one of my Evernote notebooks and everything like that. And occasionally, if I need a social media post or I need to write an article or something like that, I'll go and pull something out of that, and then, of course, promote the book, using more writing. So writing creates more writing, just like sales creates more sales. And so, that in retrospect is like, that might be my advice, is to not get so caught up into what everybody else is doing, but just, look inward at yourself, and what great stories you have to tell and what lessons that you've learned, not only from your own experience, but also through helping other people in your business. that might be a better, approach than worrying about what everybody else is doing.
That's awesome. That's great advice. And I think it's very interesting and encouraging for other people how you really use the pandemic to get these books written and done. And, although we may or may not have another pandemic where people can do that, I think it's a great example of using that time and saying, hey, I'm just looking on Amazon. It's like, oh yeah, first one published April 20th. Of 2020, and then second one published September 25th of 2020, which is cool to just see a focus year of production.
That's an interesting story there too, Chandler, because it took me a long time to learn how to write the first book and to write the first book. And, I had some big name publishers, talking to me about the first book. And, I really wanted to talk about workplace toxicity, which is an area that I've done a lot of research in. And unfortunately, I also have some stories to tell from that regard. And but what happened is the bigger publishers will tell me that's too negative, or whatever, for books to sell, or whatever. You need to have somewhat of a positive angle. So that's why then even though that I you did not go with the big publisher there, whatever. That's why it's called Hire Smarter, Sell More, because it's about how to hire the rainmakers and not the toxic troublemakers. So that's how I worked the toxicity thing into there. But it took me a long time to write that first book. It published April 2020, but it actually started then 2019 is when I started working on the book. The second book, once I learned how to do it and everything like that, and then I found my voice as far as sales credibility is concerned, that just flowed. It was so easy to write that book because it's I knew what the formula was. I knew what it took, the process of actually writing the book and editing the book and re-editing the book and re-editing the book and then doing the audio book and everything like that. Once I learned that, it was so easy to do the second one. And that's why I think that I always wondered how, when you see some people that are authors, they'll write a book and then they'll write another book and another book and another book. And you ask yourself, when do they find the time to do all this? It's once you've cracked the code and everything like that, whether you've gone to an author school or, you just, after you've done the first one, you learn by doing, and it becomes easier to write the next ones.
I love you. I love that you said that. We always say it's learning how to write a book. It's kind of like learning how to ride a bike. Once you know how to do it, you can do it over and over and over again. And it gets faster and it gets easier. And that first book is the hardest. And so that's cool to hear your experience.
I mean, it's just sort of for me, riding a bicycle is I'm a long distance cyclist. I ride long distances in charity events and raise money for cancer research. And so we have these things that we do called centuries, which is 100 miles. And if it sounds like a long way, it is. And but it took me a while to ride the first 100 miles, the first 100-mile ride. But then after I learned how to do it, how to pace myself, how to do hydration, nutrition, and everything like that, it became easier and easier and easier to do future centuries. So, so you're right. It is just like riding a bike.
That's so interesting. Apparently there's levels. There's levels to riding a bike that I have not reached yet.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's you go all the way up to Tour de France level, which I am nowhere close to being at.
Yeah.
But
Hey, Chandler Bolt here. I hope you're loving this episode so far. It's time to go from inspiration to implementation. All right, so if you've learned something, we want to help you implement what you've learned with your book. So what I want you to do right now is go to selfpublishing.com/schedule, book a publishing consultation with one of the experts on my team. We'll talk about your goals for your book, your dreams, your challenges, your next steps, and we'll start putting together a plan. All right, so go to selfpublishing.com/schedule, book a call with the team. Let's see how we can help with your book. It's time to implement.
So let's switch gears a little bit. And so a concept that I talk about all the time, and I told this story in my new book published, right, is one of the big pieces of advice that I got when I was failing at business and my books weren't selling and all that early on was from a couple mentors. Is they said, Chandler, you need to learn to become friends with Sam. And I said, well, hold up, who's Sam and why do I need to know him? And they said, it's sales and marketing. You've got to learn sales and marketing. It doesn't matter if you like it, you've got to learn it, because if you don't learn these two skill sets, your business won't grow. You'll continue to be broke. But if you do learn these skill sets, you can sell as many books as you want. You can grow your business as fast as you want. Like, people always need more sales and more customers, right? And so with that said, I think as a frame, like we often on this show talk about marketing, and we don't often talk about the S in SAM, right? In sales. So can you maybe speak to that? Is why are sales skills important as an author to sell more books?
Well, a lot of authors that I know, they like the writing, they like being holed up in the room and working on the book and everything like that. They don't like sales. They don't like a lot of extroverted things. A lot of the ones that I know don't even like doing book signings or anything like that. And so, the marketing is something they can still do by writing and everything like that. But sales requires a one-on-one effort. So, that's where it's like, if you're invited to speak somewhere or whatever, then you really should be selling the books in the back of the room, or you really should be selling the books as part of your speaker fee, for example. That's an easy way to do it, where you don't have to really worry about speaking. But the neat thing is that it's very rewarding to have people come up to you or whatever and talk about your book and want to meet you, especially if you come across somebody that's actually read your book, and they would come up and they want to meet you or whatever. It's like, that is so incredibly gratifying. And it's really a nice ego boost too. It's like, not that you need to worry so much about ego, but it's a nice pick me up. And so that's some of the things that sales can do for you. So it's a matter of selling them in bulk, selling them one at a time. The days of going, trying to sell them to a bookstore or something like that are kind of behind us. The big bookstores, of course, are just like mass merchants. They're just selling the stuff that everybody wants and everything like that. You can maybe make some headway in independence if you're a business book or whatever book writer. Then it's like, airport bookstores, of course, have always been great. I do a little trick, quite frankly, when I'm on the road. Maybe I shouldn't admit this, but I have copies of my book in my bag, and as I'm traveling or whatever, and I'll take a couple copies of the book and I'll slide it into at the airport bookstore in the business section. And I bet if somebody goes to buy that book and they take it up to the register or whatever, it's not in the computer system, they're wondering, what the hell is this? But it's like, it's just a little thing
That's
that
fun.
I do.
I like it.
So sales is not always be closing. It's like that's a misnomer about sales. Sales is about helping. And the reason why you wrote the book is either to help or to entertain, is how I view it, or sometimes both. But if you wrote a book then to help other people or something like that, then you need to understand that sales is really all about that. It's not about manipulating people, persuading people, arm twisting. It's not like there's some formula to it or anything like that. At its core, it's really coming at it from a place of helping other people. And so if you can help somebody else, then make an impression on their audience, on their membership, if it's an organization, at their conference, their event, their marketing team, sales team, logistics team, accounting team, whatever, then that's so it really starts. The best advice that I can give your audience is to think of sales, think of your mindset a little bit differently about what you think sales is, because it's not how sales is portrayed in the movies and on TV shows. It's really all about helping other people.
That's great. I love that. I feel like 3 big takeaways for people there is, number one, sales is service, right? Mm-hmm. And so sales is not always be closing, like you said. It's services and it's adding value. Secondly, you talked about, I love the distinction between marketing is one to many and sales is one to one.
That's right.
They're the same conversation. It's just a different format. And the better you get at sales, the better your marketing gets. The better you get at marketing, the better you get at sales. And it's a very symbiotic relationship. And
to do that one-to-one, it's like you have to know your audience, and just as you've done a lot of research then to write your book, it helps that you also understand who you're speaking to, and what's causing them anxiety or heartburn or something like that, or what's their big goal that they want to achieve, or something that they really want to do. And the better you understand that, you then craft your message. Then you might have the same talking points and everything like that, but you enrobe it in such a way then that you're actually being of help and service into the person you're speaking to.
That's so great. The best marketing comes from one-on-one conversations, which is sales conversations, right? And I guess the third takeaway I got, which is if you want to get your book in bookstores, the easiest way is to take it and leave it. No, I always joke with people on that. They're always like, "Hey, how can I get my book into a bookstore?" I'm like, "I'll tell you the easiest way: go in there and leave it." Well, hey,
so now you can say, yeah, yes, my book's in airport bookstores. Yes, that's absolutely true.
it is.
And one of these days, it's
airport
like what I want to
bookstores.
do is like I want to try to set up a business trip, you know, where I do that. I go through the airport and I come back like 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, and see if the book's still there.
Yeah, that's funny. That's a good idea. I'm gonna give that a try this weekend. I got a speaking gig this weekend up in Canada, so I'm gonna see if my book might be in international books airport bookstores by the end of
Exactly
the
right.
weekend. Oh man, that's awesome. Well, so if I'm listening to this, I'm saying, all right, I get it, Lee. I need to care about and be good at sales, but I don't like it or I'm intimidated by it. What would be your advice for people kind of getting over some of those insecurities to have some of their first sales conversations?
Yeah, I mean,
their
the first
book?
part is like if you don't like sales, again, it's probably about how you think about sales. And if you think about sales differently as helping other people, you probably like doing that. You know, so in that sense, it's about changing your mindset really about sales is. And then the other thing is that, you know, I'm not good at it. It's like, look, it's like we're all not good at something the first time we do it. It's like I don't necessarily think my first draft of my first book was not good. I mean, so you know, the first speech I ever gave or whatever was like, you know, compared to where, you know, how I speak now, was not good. The first time I rode my bike, I crashed. You know, so it's like I'm sure the first time I tried to walk or whatever, I fell down. So, you know, you're not going to be great at it. You know, the first time you do it, the thing is just to try it and, you know, and to learn things, go into it with an open mind and open ears and open heart. And, you know, just get better at it. You learn by doing, and it can be exhilarating. Actually, you know, try something new, get out of your comfort zone a little bit. And but at the same point, then it's like understand it's like you're just helping other people, and if you do that, you don't have to worry about closing or anything like that, because closing, it gets a lot of people talk about in sales, and closing is really about just coming to agreements. You know, we're going to agree on terms, we're going to agree on start date, we're going to agree on delivery and support and everything like that. So you don't even have to really think about it. It's like, don't get all caught up in, you know, oh, I don't know how to close, I don't anything like that. That's just a lot of sales tactics that a lot of sales consultants use. And it's like, and that's really, you know, if you're helping other people and you're genuine and authentic about it, and you also speak from a position of great credibility, you know, closing is really a piece of cake and really not even something you should even think about it as a step or stage or something that you have to practice.
That's great. And I think I love that the bedrock of that is coming back to changing the way that you look at sales.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at sales as service, and you know, I had someone frame it one time is, you know, if you believe that your book is going to make someone's life better, it is your moral obligation to do everything that you can in your power to get them to buy that book,
Mm-hmm.
because that's how you help them, right? Which
Yeah.
I think is exactly what you're saying. So we're changing our frame, we're changing the way that we look at it. Can you give maybe an example of a sales situation as an author, and how someone can navigate that process, either using what you talk about in SalesCred, using the Sales Fuel tool, or just like overall sales skills to get to a better outcome that helps them sell more books?
Yeah, I think it's really the first step is you know, there's an appendix in my SalesCred book. It's the 7 C's of pre-call intelligence. And that's really about 7 areas of things that you can research to better understand, you know, the buyer, your end customer. And yeah, so take a look at that. So the better that you know the company, the better that you know, more importantly, the people that you're going to, you know, that, you know, are in a position basically to buy your book. And you understand not only what the company's needs and desires are and everything like that, but also the people that you're dealing with, and treat them as human beings, not as wallets, right? And so there's that. And understand the category of business that they're in, who their competitors are, who their customers are, and why their customers then rely on, you know, this company so much. The better you understand that, the more successful you'll be at sales. So that's what my company, Sales Fuel, has been doing for 31 years. And then when you do that, you'll speak from a position of great credibility in the fact that, yeah, you're a book author, so you've got that in your hip pocket. But if you have experience in working with like companies, and similar types of people, or have solved similar types of problems, and you can speak to that, or that further builds your credibility. But that also then enables you then to be you come across as a subject matter expert, and that's really, especially if you're writing a business book, that's where you want to be. And if you're writing a fiction book, then I have other friends. I have one friend in particular that wrote a series of paranormal romance novels, and she's the wife of a good friend of mine. So it's like, even then, it's like, she's become an expert at her craft, which is fictional storytelling. And and of course writing and everything like that. She too does not like to do sales nor marketing and everything like that, but she loves doing the storytelling, and so that's her area of expertise, and something all of us as salespeople, quite frankly, can get better at. So it's really about being the expert, believing that you're the expert, being the expert, then, and making sure then that you establish and build credibility so that they see you as the expert.
That's awesome. What knowing what you know now, Lee, what would be kind of your parting piece of advice for the Lee from years ago, or all the other Lees out there who are thinking about writing their first book? I guess being on the other side of that with 2 books under your belt, what would be your parting piece of advice?
First thing I would do is I would try to learn from people that have written books. So I go back to my mentor, Jeffrey Gitomer. And then, of course, I found a publisher then that was writing his own book. And I learned quite a few things from him. I've learned a few things from you just by having you on my podcast, the Manage Smarter podcast, and then our relationship with the self-publishing school. So, it's to dive in and to learn as much as you can about the craft of writing the book. And then the second thing that I would recommend then is to just write, and and if it doesn't turn into a book, make it an article, and you can submit items as blog pieces and everything like that. That's going to help your SEO. That's also something very important, which I'm sure you've covered, over time, is that SEO for book authors is primo important. But it's like the more you can put yourself out there and build your credibility as a writer, it's like, it doesn't matter whether it's a blog piece or it's an article published, on another online publication or anything like that. It's like, do that and start building your chops. And as you do that, if you find that certain articles resonate with certain people and you've got more of a story to tell or something like that, that might be a clue that might be your book.
That's great. That's really great. We'll see Lee Smith. I appreciate it, man. Where can people go to find out more about you, your company, to buy your book, all that good stuff?
So you can learn about me at my website, C. Lee Smith. That's the letter C, then Lee Smith. My company, the sales research firm, is Sales Fuel. The book is SalesCred, and also then the book has also turned into an app, which is designed then to help salespeople, particularly new salespeople, build the credibility they need then to compete with more experienced salespeople. So the app, of course, is available then on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. You can find all of those on the website, salescred.com. And of course, by all means, look me up on LinkedIn. I love connecting with people and having conversations there. Got a great sales credibility newsletter that I put out there on the LinkedIn platform, and look forward to having conversations with all your people.
Awesome. SalesCred, Sales Fuel. Check out the book, check out the app, and his LinkedIn. Appreciate you, Lee.
Hey, it's great to talk to you again, Chandler.
Thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of the Self-Publishing School podcast. I know there's so many places that you can be spending your time. There's other podcasts that you could be listening to, YouTube channels that you could be watching. So thank you so much. It means the world. Now, I want you to do 3 things right now if you found this episode helpful. All right, number 1, I don't know if you know this, but we've got a YouTube channel. It's a companion channel to this podcast. All the video versions of the episode are on the YouTube channel. So number 1, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Number 2, if you're listening to this podcast wherever, whether this is Spotify, Apple Podcasts, number 2, I want you to subscribe to this podcast right now so you don't miss a future episode. And then number 3, this is probably the most important, leave a review on the podcast. All right, reviews are super important and help the podcast get discovered by other people. So number 3, leave a review on the podcast. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next episode. If you're on the fence about scheduling a publishing consultation call with my team, maybe you're not quite ready for that, I've got some free training that I think will be really helpful for you. All right, all you have to do is go to register to sign up. Go to selfpublishing.com/free training. When you do, you're also going to get a free digital copy of my new book published. And on that training, you're going to learn the next steps, so how to implement with your book. So how to write, how to publish, how to launch successfully. So go to register right now at selfpublishing.com/free training. I'll see you there.